Mysterious Hollywood couples never seen together. Hollywood, where romantic relationships are always the focus of the media. Famous couples often appear hand in hand on the red carpet, share sweet moments in front of the camera, and become symbols of love in the eyes of the public. But not all couples are like that. There are relationships that make people curious, because despite being famous, despite being mentioned by the press constantly, they have never appeared together at a public event. No photos together, no interactions on social networks, even avoiding standing close to each other. What is the reason? Is it the choice to keep private matters private? Is it a media strategy? Or is there something unspeakable behind the scenes? In this video, let's take a look at famous Hollywood couples who have been in love or suspected of dating, but have almost never stepped onto the stage of life together in front of the public. And what is behind that strange absence? Secrets? Conflicts? Or is it simply that they were never really a couple? Javier Bardem and Penelope Cruz. When love and art don't need a lens, they are not only a powerful couple of Spanish cinema, but also rare artists who maintain their mystery in a noisy Hollywood. Javier Bardem and Penelope Cruz, two Oscar-winning stars possessing an attractive charisma and outstanding talent, but chose to love and live together quietly. Their love began in their youth when they starred together in Jamon Jamon, 1992. In the film, they are young people, longing for love and rebellion. In real life, they are just young actors who do not know that one day they will find each other at another moment in life. Many years later, they reunited in Vicky Cristina Barcelona, 2008, and then their love truly blossomed, quietly and naturally like the way they live. They continued to be good co-stars in Loving Pablo, Everybody Knows, and every time they appeared, they made the audience unable to take their eyes off them with their deep gazes and effortless emotional harmony. But what makes Javier and Penelope special is not just because they are excellent actors, but because of the way they keep their private lives. Despite being together for more than a decade, they rarely appear together at public events. No red carpets, no talk shows, no affectionate photos displayed on social networks. They choose to keep their love in a place where the lens cannot reach, behind the camera, where there is only real presence and real moments. Penelope, a strong woman with roles full of depth, intelligence, and freedom, is similar to Javier himself, a man who once said that he loved the way she existed as she was, without embellishment, without hiding anything. They don't need to prove to the world how much they love each other, because for them, love is not to be shown, but to be lived and preserved. In 2010, they got married in a secret ceremony in the Bahamas, with only family and close friends. Since then, Javier and Penelope have almost disappeared from the lavish Hollywood parties, returning to Spain, their homeland, to live a simple life, raising two young children in peace, away from the flash bulbs and scrutiny of the paparazzi. Sometimes people see them walking down the street together, hand in hand, laughing at each other over ordinary things. No bodyguards, no entourage, no barriers between them and real life. In a rare sharing, Penelope once said, "We don't need to show off our love for it to be great. We just need to know it exists and feel it every day." They are like an art film that doesn't need a theater, doesn't need to sell tickets, doesn't need views, just real emotions. Every look, every time they touch each other's hands, exudes the tenderness and understanding that only people who have gone through ups and downs together can have. Javier Bardem and Penelope Cruz have proven that, in a world where everything private is easily exposed, true love needs to be kept private so that it can exist, grow, and shine in its own way. Because in the end, love doesn't need an audience, doesn't need the spotlight. Just have each other and be sincere enough to go together to the end of the road. Maya Rudolph and Paul Thomas Anderson. A quiet love story between comedy and high-end cinema. Not everyone knows Maya Rudolph, the charming comedian who once caused a storm on Saturday Night Live, and Paul Thomas Anderson, the famous director behind masterpieces such as There Will Be Blood, Magnolia, or Phantom Thread, have been together quietly since 2001. More than 2 decades of attachment, no need for a lavish wedding, No need for a noisy announcement. Just a love that is strong enough to go through all stages of life together. What makes Paul fall in love with Maya does not come from a splendid stage, but from the simplest things. When she was young, Maya and her best friend hosted a student TV show, formed a school jazz band, and were always full of energy and a natural sense of humor. Paul once shared, "She makes me laugh, and I can't take my eyes off her." They love each other quietly, raising 4 children in a home filled with laughter, music, and unfinished films. In a Hollywood where every love story is easily exposed, Maya and Paul choose to keep their own corner, where love is nurtured by daily companionship instead of ostentatious declarations. But being discreet does not mean they are separate from each other's artistic world. Maya has appeared in Paul's works such as Inherent Vice, Licorice Pizza, and she was even the inspiration for Paul to create the female lead character in Phantom Thread, a profound and meaningful film about the complexity of love and attachment. It is not only love, but also mutual understanding of art, career, and how they respect each other's world. The times they walk side by side on the red carpet, at the Oscars, or at movie premieres, there was no trickery or awkwardness. Just a glance, a slight smile, is enough for people to see the quiet but powerful chemistry, an actress who always makes the audience laugh, and a director who specializes in creating cinematic masterpieces with depth. In a rare interview, Maya once shared, "Sometimes I look at our lives and it's as if I can see the future. Everything will be fine. Everything will be in place. And perhaps in a bustling Hollywood, where the halo can fade overnight, that stability and simplicity is the most admirable thing." They don't need to be a public couple to prove their love. They just need companionship, peace in the laughter of children, in the long days of filming, and in the smallest moments, where Maya still makes Paul laugh, and Paul still makes Maya feel loved and safe. Maya Rudolph and Paul Thomas Anderson proved that. When you find someone who makes you laugh every day, who believes in you, and who you can build a simple life with in a world full of chaos, that is the ultimate love without the spotlight. Adele and Rich Paul, love grows in the light. Adele, a British singer with a heart-wrenching voice, was once known to the world through her sad, haunting ballads, tinged with nameless pain. Millions of Adele's music listeners once believed that her heart was too damaged to love again, especially after her broken marriage that caused her to collapse, having to find herself again in tears and career. But then, in 2021, a new chapter gently opened in Adele's life. A chapter about peace, about true smiles, and about a man who does not come from the spotlight, Rich Paul. Rich Paul is not an artist nor an actor. He is one of the most powerful sports agents in America, the man behind the careers of NBA superstars like LeBron James. As a busy man in the fierce sports world, few people think that he is the one who can enter Adele's heart gently, but firmly enough to soothe the wounds that have not healed for a long time. Adele once recounted, her voice mixed with a bit of humor, "I met him at a birthday party. We danced together, talked all night. A few years later, we went to dinner. He said it was a work meeting, but I knew very well what work. A party, a dance, a dinner, started as a gentle love story, no drama, no tricks, but changed her life." Since making their relationship public, Adele and Rich Paul have not appeared too much in front of the public camera. Occasionally, people saw them sitting next to each other in the NBA stands, where Adele leaned her head on Rich Paul's shoulder, sometimes smiling quietly amid the enthusiastic cheers, as if the world outside was no longer important. No longer the sad Adele in the breakup songs. This is the current Adele, relieved, warm, and truly happy. Although she has never announced an official wedding, Adele naturally called Rich Paul "my husband" in an interview, enough for fans to understand that this love has surpassed all boundaries of titles. She does not need a diamond ring nor a grand wedding to prove happiness. "This is the first time I truly love myself, and also the first time I am willing to love and be loved by someone else." Adele said so, simple but full of weight. Without the noise in the media, without showing off happiness, Adele and Rich Paul love each other the way adults who have experienced a breakup learn to love again from the beginning, quietly but firmly, without having to prove it to anyone. Rich Paul does not need to be a famous singer to walk with Adele. He just needs to be himself. Someone brave enough to stand next to a big star without being overshadowed, delicate enough to listen, and patient enough to wait for her to open up. Adele had gone through years of loneliness that made her not dare to believe in love, and Rich Paul had been busy in a world that had no place for weakness. They met at the right time when both were mature enough to understand that love is not everything, but it is what makes life worth living. Today, Adele no longer sings about separation and tears, but sings with peace. It is not the end of her sad songs, but the beginning of a new Adele, a woman who knows how to love herself, knows how to love and be loved by someone worthy after all the storms that life has brought. Amidst the glittering stage lights, amidst the noisy NBA games, they still silently hold hands to remind each other that true love doesn't need noise. It just needs the right person, the right time, and the willingness to stay. Saoirse Ronan and Jack Lowden, secret love in the spotlight. Saoirse Ronan grew up in the spotlight, becoming a star since she was a teenager. 4 times nominated for an Oscar, walking on the red carpet, waving to the audience, she clearly understands the price of fame, losing privacy, losing a part of her real life. And perhaps because she understood that when true love came, Saoirse chose to keep it away from the camera. She met Jack Lowden, a Scottish actor, on the set of Mary Queen of Scots in 2018. At that time, they played people with historical tragedies, but behind the camera lens, a gentle, quiet, and lasting relationship blossomed. There were no photos holding hands on the street to appear in the newspaper, no interviews publicly showing their love. They chose to love each other quietly, only letting the people who really mattered know. It wasn't until 2024 that they confirmed their marriage in Edinburgh, in a small, intimate ceremony, without paparazzi, without fancy wedding dresses, just simple promises, "You will be my queen, and now I am your king." Saoirse and Jack rarely appear together at public events, even though they are both bright faces of British cinema. But that absence is not distance, but a choice to protect what is most important, a love deep enough that it doesn't need to be proven. Although work takes each of them far away, they still choose to return to the same roof, keeping each other's most real part in an industry where everything is scrutinized and every love story easily becomes a hot headline. In a world where all eyes are on, Saoirse and Jack have proven that love doesn't need to be shown to be beautiful. Sometimes the most precious things are the moments that no one knows about, except the two of you. Ed Sheeran and Cherry Seaborn, childhood love, writes immortal love songs. No one writes about love like Ed Sheeran, and no one understands his love like Cherry Seaborn, the silent partner who has been with him since his early years. Ed and Cherry met in high school in Sheffield, England. They were just 2 kids who went to the same school, then lost touch for a long time as each pursued their own path. But fate did not stop there. In 2015, the two met by chance again. And this time, they did not part ways. Their love did not explode in the press, but grew quietly and steadily. In 2018, Ed Sheeran quietly announced on Instagram that he was engaged to his best friend with a simple message: "We are very happy and in love." No fancy wedding ceremony, no fancy wedding photos, just a private promise between the two. And from there, they became husband and wife and the parents of 2 little girls. Although they rarely share about their personal lives, everyone knows that Cherry is the muse who inspired many of Ed's famous love songs, from Perfect to Photograph, from gentle notes to soulful narrative lyrics. Amidst the bright stage lights and world tours, Ed always looks for Cherry, the one who keeps his true self, simple, not famous, not needing the spotlight. Their love does not need to be shown off because it resonates in the sweetest way, through music. Chris Evans and Alba Baptista. When Captain America chose peace outside the spotlight as one of the brightest stars of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Chris Evans has always made the public curious about his personal life. So when he suddenly revealed, "I'm married," thank you, and it's wonderful, logically, the whole world was almost stunned. The bride is none other than Alba Baptista, a Portuguese actress who attracted attention with her leading role in Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. Although the two were first discovered dating in 2021, they had quietly built their relationship during that time, away from all the noise of the media. By 2023, the couple secretly held two wedding ceremonies, one in Boston, Chris Evans' hometown, and one in Portugal, where Alba grew up. No stage lights, no paparazzi lenses, only their closest loved ones witnessed their sacred moment. Chris excitedly shared, "My wife is Portuguese. Yeah, go Portugal." Although they had previously shared some intimate photos on social media, the two quickly withdrew from the spotlight to maintain privacy for their new marriage. Chris's sweet words for Alba did not come from the press, but from everyday moments. "She loves animals like I do. I knew she was that person. From a very early age, even before she met Dodger." Dodger is Chris's beloved dog for many years. Behind the powerful superhero image on screen, Chris Evans is actually just a man looking for peace, and he found it in a woman who is smart, quiet, and loves in a quiet way. Jennifer Lawrence and Cooke Maroney, Katniss, and the simple love story in a world full of scandals. Jennifer Lawrence once stood at the pinnacle of glory, with an Oscar in hand and millions of fans calling her Katniss Everdeen. However, behind the flashing lights, Jennifer chose a private life, where she was not a star, but just a woman in love. She met Cooke Maroney, the director of an art gallery in New York, in 2018, when her heart was still scarred after breaking up with her ex-boyfriend. No one expected that the relationship would grow so quickly. After just a few months, Cooke knelt down to propose to Jennifer, and in October 2019, they officially became one family in a cozy wedding in Rhode Island. Only 150 guests, no media cameras, only the people who really matter, and they promised to hold hands for the rest of their lives. Although Jennifer is one of the most powerful faces in Hollywood, her married life is extremely simple. No flashy red carpet events, no lavish parties. They choose to spend time together in quiet evenings in the kitchen, cooking together, going to the supermarket, walking around the streets like a normal couple in the middle of a big city. In 2022, the couple welcomed their first child, and in early 2024, they happily announced that they were preparing to welcome a new member. It was not only good news, but also a small victory for them against the endless curiosity of the media. In a rare interview with Vanity Fair, Jennifer smiled when talking about her husband. "He is the most wonderful person I have ever met. We don't need big things to be happy, just being together, doing little things together." For Jennifer, Cooke is not only her husband, but also her best friend, the place where she can let go of all the pressure of Hollywood to be herself. She once shared that marriage is not to prove to the world, but for both of them to remind themselves, "We chose each other and will always be together, no matter how noisy life is out there." In a world where privacy is a luxury, Jennifer Lawrence and Cooke Maroney have chosen to keep a quiet space for themselves, where love is nurtured every day with ordinary moments, without needing to show off, without needing to prove. And that is the proof. True love does not need noise, just enough trust, enough peace to walk together to the end of the road. Holland and Zendaya, young love in the spider web of fame. In a quiet way, Holland and Zendaya have become one of Hollywood's most beloved couples, although they have never needed to make a big deal about their love. The rumors started in 2017 when they both appeared in Spider-Man: Homecoming. Right from the first interviews, fans recognized the way Tom looked at Zendaya, Zendaya's smile when Tom talked about her, a chemistry that transcended the screen. But it took many years, through countless rumors and secretly taken photos, for them to officially admit their feelings. At the end of 2024, fans were overwhelmed when they learned that the couple secretly got engaged. There was no red carpet, no gorgeous wedding dress on the cover of a magazine, just two young people, loving each other with all sincerity, building love from friendship, understanding, and trust. Despite always being the focus of paparazzi, Tom and Zendaya rarely appear together at events. Tom once said, "Love is not part of the job, and I want to keep it to myself." Their love is reflected in everyday moments, such as when Tom joked that he wanted to land coolly, like Spider-Man, but was saved by Zendaya when his leg dangled during a scene, or the times when they both burst into laughter just because their eyes met in the crowd. Tom, the genuine, warm Spider-Man. Zendaya, the smart, strong MJ. They love each other quietly, but every look, every smile is enough for the audience to believe that love really exists and is growing every day in the web of Hollywood fame. Lady Gaga and Michael Polanski. When a rebellious heart learns to love peacefully, Lady Gaga, the woman who once stepped onto the stage in a dress made of raw meat, who sang about monsters and haunting love, is not an image we often associate with the words reticent or stable. However, in the midst of her brightly lit world, Gaga chose to love in a quiet, gentle way. At the end of 2019, at a New Year's Eve party, Gaga met Michael Polanski, a businessman and charity director who had a strangely calm gaze. They talked for 3 hours. No one knew that the story that day opened up a love affair that lasted more than 4 years, deeper than any romantic song Gaga had ever sung. Gaga once shared, "When we first met, I didn't think things would go that far, but he made me feel like I could be myself." In a world where every private moment is easily scrutinized, Gaga and Michael have protected their love with absolute silence. No noise, no showing off. They avoided appearing together on the red carpet, avoided hugging in front of the camera, and even officially held hands and walked through the sea of reporters in 2024. On April 1st, Michael proposed to Gaga. She thought he was joking because it was April Fool's Day, but he just smiled, opened the ring box in the middle of a simple mountain climb, no stage lights, no applause, just the sound of the wind and two hearts knowing they belonged to each other. I laughed out loud, thinking he was just joking, but no, it was the most serious moment we've ever had, Gaga recounted, her eyes sparkling with happiness. Since 2024, Gaga has begun to hide less that love. She and Michael appeared hand in hand at the premiere of Joker Folie à Deux, gently leaning on each other's shoulders as they walked through the crowd, their eyes looking at each other so warmly that it made even fans feel at ease. They collaborated on a few music projects together. Michael quietly stood behind the scenes, always there when Gaga needed him, not showing off, not stealing the spotlight. In an interview, when a reporter caught saying "my fiancé," Gaga just laughed. "I tried to keep it a secret, but then everyone knew." That's Gaga, still bold, still charming, and always living life to the fullest. But in love, she chose a man who was quiet, patient, and warm enough to be the place where she could remove all the masks, return to being the girl Stephanie Germanotta of the past, no longer having to force herself to become Lady Gaga. They don't need elaborate romantic moments because everyday life, cooking together, listening to music in the evening, hiking, hugging each other after a long day, is the simple happiness that Gaga thought she would never have. In a world where celebrity love is often short-lived, Gaga and Michael have proven that. Even the most rebellious heart in the end just needs a peaceful place to return to. Dakota Johnson and Chris Martin, when two artistic worlds find each other in silence. Since the rumors began to spread in 2017, fans have been curious about the relationship between Dakota Johnson, the star of 50 Shades of Grey, and Chris Martin, the frontman of Coldplay. Initially, the two were only caught walking together briefly. A look, a smile, like when Dakota burst out laughing and Chris stood quietly behind, was enough for the public to speculate. But for many years, they chose to keep quiet. It took a long time for Dakota and Chris to officially appear together at a fashion event. Since then, the couple has become a familiar target of paparazzi. However, unlike many other famous couples, they have never let their love become part of a PR campaign. They live a simple, private life, and sometimes their everyday moments are what people love the most. As Dakota said, "A few weeks ago, I had a really bad day. Chris looked at me and said, 'Are you okay?' I said, 'No.' He looked at me and said, 'You're wearing a t-shirt with a singing cat on it, like on the soundtrack. You're definitely not okay.'" A gentle statement, but enough to show the sincere care and understanding between them. They are not just life partners, but also artistic partners. In 2020, Dakota directed the music video for Coldplay's Cry Cry Cry, a delicate, emotional, and personal work. And it wasn't until 2024 that people accidentally discovered that they had been engaged for a long time, but had never made it public. In a world where everything is easily a headline, Dakota Johnson and Chris Martin are experts at keeping their love gentle, discreet, but as strong as the melody of a timeless song. Kristen Stewart and Dylan Meyer, when two artists found each other amidst the chaotic Hollywood. When asked, "Are you in love?" Kristen Stewart, the Twilight star who once stirred up the youth of a generation, simply smiled. Yes. Behind that short answer is a quiet love story that lasted nearly a decade, with simple but powerful moments of two artists' souls. The story began in 2013. Kristen met Dylan Meyer, the screenwriter behind projects like XOXO or Miss 2059, while working together on a film set. They greeted each other, smiled slightly, and then went their separate ways. 6 years later, at a small birthday party, they met again, and this time, they did not pass each other again. Kristen once shared that she quickly saw the future in Dylan's eyes after only a few weeks together. In an interview, when asked if she would propose in a traditional way, Kristen just smiled, her eyes sparkling. "I can't say right now. She'll find out." In 2021, Kristen suddenly confirmed that the two were engaged, and she was the one who initiated the proposal. But of course, Kristen Stewart did not choose a classic wedding with a flowing wedding dress or a lavish banquet hall. "I want to wear my best Levi's, a t-shirt with a cut-off tuxedo print, go barefoot, get married in a way that I feel comfortable with, and be myself." In a Hollywood where everything easily becomes the focus of pursuit, Kristen and Dylan choose for themselves a quiet love. They rarely appear together in public, but when they do, just a look, a light hand-holding gesture, is enough to understand that they belong to each other. From morning coffee in a quiet alley in Los Angeles, walks with their dogs, to the moment they sit together to write a script, Dylan and Kristen have chosen to accompany each other in their own way, without showing off, without making big promises. Kristen once frankly said, "I love her, and we will spend the rest of our lives together. I have never been so sure about anything." In a world full of gossip, they do not try to become a perfect couple to please the public. They love each other in their own way, without restraint, without hiding their true selves, and without letting Hollywood standards define what happiness is. And it is that simplicity that is the most beautiful thing. A true love between two artists, strong enough not to need to prove it to anyone, patient enough to nurture through the most ordinary days. Jason Statham and Rosie Huntington-Whiteley, quiet but lasting. In a world where celebrity love affairs are often scrutinized every moment, Jason Statham and Rosie Huntington-Whiteley have chosen a different path. Quiet, discreet, but full of commitment. Jason, Hollywood's action man, and Rosie, a famous supermodel and actress, first met in 2009, and it didn't take long for them to fall in love. Although they are always pursued by the press, they rarely show affection in public. Rosie once humorously shared, "We just took pictures together without hugging and kissing. So people started speculating, are they arguing? But really, who goes around kissing in the middle of the street?" In 2016, they officially got engaged. No fuss, no gorgeous wedding dresses on magazine covers. Just a gentle promise, a stable choice. They then welcomed their first son, and in 2022, a beautiful baby girl joined the family. Rosie, who used to be quite private, has gradually shared more about her personal life. "I feel motivated to open up a little more, but we still try to keep things private, for ourselves and for the children." Despite being international stars, Jason and Rosie did not choose to stay in Hollywood. Instead, they returned to their native England, building a home away from the spotlight, just cozy dinners and family time. Rosie once said that her mother always taught her, "You need to have limits, otherwise you will just be a person floating in the sea, demanding everything without knowing what you need." In a world full of show and pressure, Jason and Rosie's love is proof that when two people understand each other, they don't need to say too much, just walk together long enough. Carey Mulligan and Marcus Mumford, a love story written through handwritten letters. Not all Hollywood love stories begin on the red carpet, with flashbulbs flashing. For Carey Mulligan and Marcus Mumford, Their love began with the simplest things, handwritten letters sent with all the sincerity of youth. They first met as children at a Catholic summer camp in the 90s. When the summer ended, Carrie and Marcus did not let their friendship pass quietly. They kept in touch through handwritten letters, awkward lines, hasty stories, and naive inquiries. But then time and life took them on different paths. Carrie became a talented actress, nominated for an Oscar, while Marcus became the leader of the world-famous band Mumford & Sons. But fate did not let them lose each other forever. In 2011, Carrie and Marcus met again by chance on the set of Inside Llewyn Davis. In a later interview, Carrie joked, "A higher power arranged for us to meet again?" That reunion changed everything. The old handwritten letters continued, but this time with late-night conversations, eye contact, and quiet dates. Just a few months later, they decided to hold hands and walk down the aisle, holding a cozy wedding in 2012, witnessed by family and close friends. Now, Carrie and Marcus are the parents of 3 children. They still choose to live a private life, away from the noise of Hollywood, but occasionally the audience still catches the moment Marcus makes a surprise appearance at the award ceremony, just to send a small message. "Hi, baby. Love you. Miss you." Carrie Mulligan once shared, "Being with Marcus is like coming home, not because of fame, but because of understanding." They don't need to show off. Just a guitar, a gentle look on. The red carpet, or a small smile from afar, is enough for people to realize the invisible, strong bond that binds them. In a world where every love story is easily exposed and overanalyzed, Carrie Mulligan and Marcus Mumford have proven that. When someone writes to you with all their heart, you will never forget them. And if it is fate, they will always come back, holding your hand for the rest of your life. Emma Stone and Dave McCary, When Humor Meets Tenderness. Not all Hollywood love stories start with flashbulbs or lavish parties. Emma Stone, the muse of La La Land and The Favorite, found the love of her life in an unexpected place, the set of Saturday Night Live. In 2016, when Stone hosted SNL, she participated in a skit directed by Dave McCary, the show's veteran writer and director. No one knew that this humorous moment on the small screen would be the beginning of a lasting love story. Don't you think we're a perfect match? I think we're perfect for each other. Although both are famous, they have always chosen to keep their private lives private. No fanfare, no loud statements. They let their love grow quietly behind the scenes of Hollywood. After 2 years of quietly dating, Emma and Dave got engaged in late 2019. A year later, as the world slowed down due to the pandemic, they quietly got married. No big ceremony, no wedding photos posted online. Then in March 2021, the couple welcomed their first child. There was no press release, just a few gentle confirmations from their reps. "We brought frankincense, gold, and myrrh." That was great. I brought blankets, diapers, and a crib. Emma has said she treasures the peace of true love, and with Dave McCary, she found that. He's not just her life partner, but also someone who makes her laugh every day, a precious commodity in the stressful world of Hollywood. The love story between a famous movie star and a behind-the-scenes screenwriter is a reminder that true love doesn't need the spotlight. It just needs a sincere heart and someone who makes you smile every morning. Jordan Peele and Chelsea Peretti, quiet, charming, and hilarious. When it comes to low-key love affairs in showbiz, it's hard to beat the duo of Jordan Peele, director of Get Out, and Chelsea Peretti, star of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Their love story began not at a movie premiere, but on Twitter. Yes, that's right. Peele sneaked into Peretti's messages to compliment her, and instead of just liking her, love started with a DM. "Hi, I'm with my boyfriend," Chelsea joked in a later video. After going public with their engagement in 2015, they continued to sneak to a loop, holding a super private wedding with only witnesses. A woman named Bay and their pet dog. Soaring like a cloud, and that's it. Their charming sense of humor is what makes them compatible not only in love, but also in life. They rarely appear together on the red carpet, but sometimes they drop hints about their life together with half-serious, half-joking stories, just like their style. In 2017, They welcomed their first son, Beaumont, and since then, Peele and Peretti have stepped into the biggest role of their lives, parenthood. Of course, with the same unmistakable optimism. "Come on, baby, let's dance," Chelsea once shared. This couple proves that you don't need noise to create a legendary love story. A DM, a dog, a secret wedding, and a lot of laughter. That's all it takes. Not all love in Hollywood needs to be publicized. Some just need the right person and the right time. Jodie Foster and Alexandra Hedison love quietly but deeply. If you have ever watched the 2013 Golden Globe Awards, you will surely remember the speech that caused a stir in Hollywood when Jodie Foster stood in front of millions of viewers and said, "I'm single. No, I'm kidding, but not really kidding." That was the rare time Jodie revealed a part of her private life that she always protected. And just 1 year later, in April 2014, Jodie Foster suddenly married Alexandra Hedison, a photographer and actress, in a ceremony so private that the press only knew about it after everything was over. No red carpet holding hands, no gorgeous wedding dress, no attention-grabbing statements. That is how Jodie Foster and Alexandra Hedison chose to love each other. Foster once shared that she actively separated her work and personal life, and fortunately, Alexandra was completely in tune with her on that. They don't need to make a big deal out of it, don't need to post affectionate pictures on social media, but always quietly appear together at the right time. Alexandra quietly accompanies Jodie to the set, or stands in a quiet corner during movie screenings, ready to smile and encourage her lover when the lights go down. Although discreet, love sometimes overcomes all layers of security. At the 2021 Golden Globes, during the online broadcast ceremony during the pandemic, Jodie Foster caused a storm on social media when she appeared on the screen, sat next to Alexandra and her pet dog, and suddenly said, "I love my wife. Thank you, Alex, Ziggy and Aaron Rodgers." A short but warm sentence, and enough for the whole world to know she is happy. Jodie Foster and Alexandra Hedison have proven that true love doesn't need to be ostentatious. No need for romantic photos posted continuously. No need for grand proposals. No need for the whole world to witness to be recognized. Their love is quiet but steadfast. Quiet but profound. Because sometimes the greatest happiness is to be yourself, with someone who truly understands you, even though the whole world doesn't need to know that. Robert Pattinson and Suki, Waterhouse, Love Blooms in Silence. Robert Pattinson, handsome, charming, and the dream lover of millions of fans around the world. But it seems that for a long time, no one was good enough to enter his heart until Suki Waterhouse appeared. They started dating in 2018, but if you look for their pictures on the red carpet or in couple interviews, you won't see them. There are no pictures holding hands, no sweet declarations. Just two people, quietly together, gentle and enduring. Robert once said, "If you let outsiders interfere in your relationship, love will no longer be just for the two of you." And he kept his word. For 4 years, they avoided the camera, keeping each other's private space in the noisy world of Hollywood. They dated in small cafes, night walks, and trips without paparazzi following them. Until December 2022, Robert and Suki walked together publicly for the first time on the red carpet, surprising and delighting Hollywood. In 2023, they moved in together, and fans began to stir when they saw Suki wearing a sparkling diamond ring and a slightly exposed waist. And then, the good news came. They welcomed their first daughter in a gentle but profound happiness. Suki Waterhouse in an interview once said, "Today I feel like I had a great day." When asked what she wanted to do after the Emmy Awards, she laughed. "I probably just want to lie down for a bit." Lie down for a bit. It could be a moment to enjoy their own joy, or it could be the way they choose to live together, simply and without having to prove anything. In a world where love stories are often exposed and consumed by the spotlight, Robert Pattinson and Suki Waterhouse chose a different kind of love. Quiet but strong, private but steadfast, unobtrusive yet strangely strong. And sometimes it is the love that blooms in silence that is the most beautiful. Macaulay Culkin and Brenda Song, when two child stars wrote a chapter of adult life, a boy at home alone, a girl at the Tipton Hotel, two child stars of a generation, and a love story that made everyone smile. Macaulay Culkin and Brenda Song fell in love after filming Changeland together in 2017. And since then, they have been together. Although they always keep their distance from the media, they occasionally share a few simple moments. Enough for fans to feel one thing: this love is sincere and quiet. In 2021, they welcomed their first child, a baby boy. Then in 2022, the engagement ring on Brenda's hand made everyone excited. And not long after, the second child was born, in a quiet but warm atmosphere. In 2023, the family made their first public appearance, not on set, but at Macaulay's Walk of Fame star ceremony. And there he moved everyone. "You're not only the most amazing woman I've ever known, you're the most amazing person I've ever known. You gave me purpose. You gave me a family." In a world where everything can be blown out of proportion and lost, they chose to love each other in silence, to raise a family with sincerity. And that's the most beautiful light, even without a stage to shine on. Cameron Diaz and Benji Madden, sweet love in a secret world. Cameron Diaz, the star who once set Hollywood on fire with his bright smile, mischievous eyes, and unforgettable roles in There's Something About Mary or Charlie's Angels. Benji Madden, the guitarist with tattoos covering his entire body, once stirred up the stage with Good Charlotte with his rebellious and powerful music. At first glance, they seem like a couple born to be the center of every flash, every photo on the front page of the magazine. But in fact, Cameron and Benji have chosen a different path, a simple, quiet, but extremely happy path. Since getting married in 2015, they have almost disappeared from the media radar. No scandals, no noisy stories. It is rare to see them appear together. Instead, they choose to live in a world of their own, where happiness is measured by simple things and sincere presence. Cameron once said, her eyes sparkling like a girl in love for the first time, "In the first year we were together, he threw me 3 surprise birthday parties, all in one day." With just one sentence, one can imagine how Benji loved Cameron. Not with flowery promises, but with warm actions and meticulous care. Benji is not only a life partner, he is also a devoted father. When they welcomed their daughter Radix in 2019, the couple continued to keep all information private, not showing off photos, not revealing details, simply protecting the privacy of their small family. In a world where every corner of their private lives is easily exposed, such discretion becomes a rare and admirable thing. They don't talk much about each other, but every time they mention each other, the story melts the listener's heart. Although the public always wants to see more of them, Cameron and Benji are still steadfast in their choice to live quietly, away from the flash. However, in the rare moments that paparazzi catch, the image of them gently holding hands, looking at each other quietly but lovingly, is enough for people to understand. They are truly living a happy love story. Cameron once shared in an interview, "I didn't know I could find this kind of love. A love that makes you feel safe, be yourself, and be loved completely." Benji also wrote about Cameron on Instagram, "You are the best companion, the love of my life." In a world where celebrity love is often displayed in public, they prove that happiness does not need to be ostentatious. It is the small surprises, the silent presence, the look of understanding without words. They are proof that, when the time is right, everything else can be kept to yourself and still shine in your own unique way. Cameron Diaz and Benji Madden have chosen a love that is quiet, yet strong enough to withstand the storms of Hollywood. A love doesn't need to be seen by everyone, as long as it is fully felt by both of you. Because in the end, true love isn't about how many times you appear in public, but how many times you hold hands and walk through the most ordinary days and still smile. If you enjoy inspiring love stories like this, don't forget to like the video if you feel moved by at least one couple on the list. Subscribe to never miss out on future videos about movies, celebrities, and behind-the-scenes stories that few people know. And comment below, which couple makes you believe in lasting love in the midst of a volatile showbiz? Thank you for watching until the end. See you in the next episode. 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 See you in the next episode.